Welcome to literary and jury charge practice. Let's start out with some literary material. This is an article and it's in the Journal of Court Reporting called "A Deliberate Finish Leads to a Great Start." Ready? Here we go. Appreciating that it takes a little guts to venture down a less traveled path, we always enjoy hearing how someone first begins providing cart services. With cart as their chosen career on completing school, these reporters threw all their energy into this special field. Carol Joy Harris from the San Francisco Bay Area and Monica Lieberman from Bergen County, New Jersey were willing to share their stories. The first time I heard about it, I knew that was what I wanted to do with this skill, says Harris. Now when I tell people about my job and how perfect I feel it is for me, I say that it's a win-win-win. I help people, I learn about all kinds of things that I wouldn't otherwise, and I get paid for it. Lieberman recalls when she first became aware of cart services being offered in the classroom. After being in my court reporting program for 2 years, I ran into a high school friend who is now the administrator for a school district that provided cart services just 6 miles from my home. I was able to shadow a cart provider one day for several classes, and from that moment on I had an interest in becoming a cart provider, she says. Land that first job. During most of the research about the field on her own, Lieberman's focus as she finished school was speed, speed, speed. Today she still practices diligently. Lieberman landed a job working for one high school district, providing cart for several high school students. Starting with history and economics classes, she quickly found herself working as a sub, covering all subject areas. When asked if she felt prepared as she started her job or if she encountered unexpected challenges, Lieberman says, "Nothing was a surprise. I took each challenge as it came. If I couldn't resolve something on my own, I was able to ask co-workers for help. I know this is a never-ending learning experience. There is always something new to learn. I plan on becoming better acquainted with the software. I'll also continue practicing to become a faster and more accurate writer every day so that I can be the best cart provider I can be for my students. I love what I do and I want it to show through my work," she says. Harris's self-propelled research led her to her first job. "I was lucky enough to be able to take an evening course from a local cart and captioning agency owner, which was wonderful. Through that class, I met the cart coordinator at one local university where I started working right from school. At the same time, I heard about an opening at another nearby university and immediately began working there too. They had never used cart before, so there was a learning curve for everyone," she says. Ask for help and encouragement. At the start, Lieberman found software and user setting help from supportive colleagues, and Harris reached out to several sources. "Yes, I had different people for different things. For example, I had one person for technical questions and another for pep talks," Harris says. As for one surprise, Harris sums up perfectly what many of us found out too. "That might sound funny, but I didn't realize how out of touch I was with the youth of today. It's been 40 years since I graduated from college, and things are so different now, from dress and behavioral standards to prevailing instructional methods and so on. I really enjoy working in the academic setting, though, much more than I thought I would, and much more than court, where I worked briefly while still in school." But pursuing additional learning opportunities outside of their traditional court reporting curriculum, both Lieberman and Harris have succeeded in securing a career that is interesting and enjoyable, as well as one that they both take much pride in. It doesn't get much better than that. Let's see what else we have as far as literary material. Let's try this article called self-confidence and positive attitudes. Ready? Here we go. Why am I talking about how to build self-confidence and focus on positive thinking, you might ask? The truth is that positive thinking and self-confidence tend to go hand in hand. When you find one, you often find the other, and when you find one is lacking, you also find the other is lacking. People who have confidence in themselves also tend to be positive about the world around them, and those who are positive about the world around them tend to be confident in themselves. This is why I think it is crucial to have time dedicated to teaching others how they can boost their self-confidence. The effects of low self-confidence can be debilitating. Those who lack confidence in themselves rarely try new things, rarely take chances, and rarely get ahead in life. For the most part, those who lack confidence have a negative self-image. They feel as if their life is out of their control, and in many cases, these people can become depressed and isolated. On the other hand, those who do have self-confidence not only believe that they are in control of their lives, they make use of that control. They get clearly defined goals and they tend to get ahead in life. They try new things and they take calculated risks. They enjoy life and they look forward to new challenges. Without self-confidence, it is likely that anyone will rarely advance in life and they may become depressed and lose interest in life. More importantly, though, the more someone lacks self-confidence, the more it shows. The more it shows, the more others will treat that person poorly, and the person's self-confidence will continue to drop, and it becomes a vicious downward cycle. On the flip side, those who possess confidence in themselves tend to be treated as if they have something to offer because they portray this very thing. Having self-confidence is vital to advance in any aspect of life. Those who possess high self-confidence tend to be more positive, and for this reason they attract more positivity into their lives. Because of this, self-confident people tend to be overall happy and fulfilled individuals. By now you are probably thinking, well, I know I want to be self-confident, but what does that mean? What is self-confidence? To have confidence in one's self means to have a firm belief in one's abilities, to believe that you can achieve that which you have set out to achieve. It means that you trust in yourself. It is more than this, however. Having a belief in our ability to succeed comes from experiences in any aspect of life. Being self-confident, however, means that we believe in our own abilities to perform and achieve in any activity, regardless of the outcome. Those who have true self-confidence do not dwell on the outcomes. They do not worry if they will succeed or fail. Having confidence in yourself means that you learn from your failures and you continue to grow. Truly confident people know themselves well and do not rely on the opinions of others. They do not listen to those who say they cannot do something. They assess their best qualities and they use them to their advantage. Now let's try a little bit of jury charge practice. And this is one we had started previously. The subject is cancer. It's not very uplifting, I will say, but it's good practice. Right, here we go. Neither is there reliable evidence that cancer in humans is inherited. Sometimes we do see malignant tumors occurring in more than one member of a family. However, studies indicate that such tumors occur no oftener in descendants of cancer victims than they do among those whose family histories seemingly have been free of the disease. It is a matter of record that in the course of several generations, almost every family member will have several members fall victim to cancer. Although no final discoveries have been made about the origins of cancer, we do know a great deal about factors that seem to favor the development of malignant tumors. We know, for instance, that older persons are more likely to have cancer than young ones. We know, too, that some parts of the body where there is a high level of chemical activity seem to be unusually susceptible to cancer. We also know that friction and other mechanical irritations seem to favor the development of malignant tumors in some parts of the body. We have evidence to show that certain substances not normally found in the body favor the development of cancer in the respiratory tract, such as oil mists, chromate and radiation dust, and industrial fumes. There is also increasing evidence that excessive cigarette smoking is one of the causative factors in lung cancer. An important point to remember is that with early treatment, most cancer is curable. Sounds like this might be a little old, possibly. Just about the cigarette smoking, we all know that that is definitely an issue for lung cancer. And let's see, I was talking about, in several generations, almost every family will have several members fall victim to cancer. So I don't know. Again, this sounds like it might be a little bit of an older article. So now let's see what we have in the way of more jury charge, and oh boy, more jury charge on cancer. All right, maybe we'll get back to that. Let's try some more literary material. The subject of this literary is Inside the Bradley Manning Trial. Ready? Here we go. Ask any seasoned official court reporter about their career experience, and more than likely they'll share at least one, if not more, stories about high-profile, unusual, intriguing, or captivating trials they've reported. And seasoned official court reporter Anthony Tony Rowland, RMR, CRR, from Oviedo, Florida, is no exception. A court reporter since 1982, Rowland already holds a treasure trove of experience rich in notoriety. He reported the federal habeas corpus trial of infamous killer Ted Bundy, who was tried and convicted for the murders of numerous young women and girls during the mid and late 1970s, and then executed by the state of Florida in 1989. He also reported Lou Pearlman, producer of the successful 1990s boy bands the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, who pled guilty on charges of money laundering and more after being discovered as a perpetrator of one of the largest and longest-running Ponzi schemes in American history. Other notable cases in Rowland's trove of experience include the trial of David Siegel, president of Westgate Resorts and other real estate-related entities, who was found liable in 2008 in a sexual harassment suit brought against him by a former employee, and the sentencing hearing of Thomas Drake, the former senior executive of the National Security Agency, who was charged and eventually pled to one misdemeanor count for exceeding authorized use of a computer in an investigation of leaks of classified information to a newspaper. Earlier this year, Rowland added to his trove of treasures when he accepted an assignment from the Freedom of Press Foundation to report on the trial of U.S. Army PFC Bradley Manning as an intelligence analyst who was detained in Iraq in 2010 on suspicion of passing classified U.S. government documents to WikiLeaks, an international online nonprofit group that publishes secret information, news links to the media, and classified materials from anonymous sources. Manning, who was convicted by a military court in August, had committed the largest security breach in U.S. history by disclosing more than 700,000 records to the online organization. From the very start, the case itself would take on aspects that ranged from being a vast history-making event to the numerous efforts taken that led to Rowland being hired for the assignment. Because of the nature of the case, the military judicial system determined that no record of the trial would be made by a court reporter stationed within the courtroom, but rather the procedures would be electronically recorded and not released to the public until multiple reviews and redactions were made by the government over a course of several months. The decision by the court led to the nonprofit Freedom of the Press Foundation, an organization that supports free speech and freedom of the press and is supported by mainstream and alternative journalists as well as activists and celebrities, to launch a public fundraising campaign to fund hiring a stenographic reporter to cover the proceedings and ensure public access to information about the case. The foundation also requested that the court provide permanent accommodations to a live court reporter to cover the trial proceedings. Knowing the background of the case, I was very interested in following it and working on it and preparing a transcript, for it was the best way to follow it. I appreciate challenging work and know this assignment would fulfill my expectations, Roland said. I had never reported a court-martial before and was very interested in learning about that judicial process. This was the most challenging assignment I've ever sat through. Though Roland was granted permanent accommodations to cover the proceedings, the military had not provided him with any written documentation regarding accommodation. On the first day of the trial, Roland attended the proceedings on a borrowed press pass. That same day, the foundation sent a letter to the Military District of Washington media desk that was signed by an array of media outlets. The letter successfully argued that barring a live stenographic reporter from covering the proceedings stymied Manning's Sixth Amendment right to a public trial and the public's First Amendment right to a public trial, and that 2 press credentials should be issued to Roland. According to the military media desk, it received more than 350 requests for press credentials, but only issued 80. Roland was given 2. The first day of the trial was a bit iffy because I didn't have anything in writing saying I could be there. Each morning and afternoon, a military attorney would come into the media center and brief us about what was going to occur that day at trial. The first day, I showed the attorney my machine just to make sure that the verbal permission I had to be there was valid until I received written permission, Roland said. I explained that the machine was just like having a pen and paper, only I could write faster. Landing the assignment to cover the Manning trial gave Roland the opportunity to team up with Gore Brothers Reporting and Video, a court reporting firm in the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area, to help ensure transcripts were delivered in a timely manner to the foundation. Owned and operated by Roland's longtime friend, mentor, and colleague Joe Grabowski, RMR, the firm provided him with the necessary support staff to work on producing the transcripts and uploading them by 7 p.m. each evening and 9 a.m. each morning. Grabowski's firm also provided the support of 4 court reporters who rotated with Roland throughout each court session and the entire month of July. Right, we will get back to that one. Let's try a little more jury charge about cancer. Ready? Here we go. Cancer may develop almost anywhere in the body. The purpose of this discussion is to put you on guard against cancer of the mouth and respiratory tract. If you recognize in yourself any of the symptoms described below, go to see a physician as fast as you can. Cancer is an all-or-nothing disease. Find it early and you can be cured. Let it go and you certainly will die of it. The respiratory system is a highway traveling deep into the body. It is the route that air flows from the time you breathe it in until it reaches the farthest points of your lungs and the oxygen in it finally enters the blood. There are 2 entrances to this pathway. One is through the mouth and the other is through the nose. The route runs past the pharynx, which is the back of the mouth, down through the larynx, which is the voice box that contains the vocal cords, and into the trachea or windpipe near the base of your neck. The windpipe divides into 2 pipes called bronchi. These in turn divide into smaller branches called bronchioles that finally pass into clusters of breathing units called alveoli. Medical textbooks speak of this part of the respiratory system from the windpipe down as the bronchial tree. The bronchi are likened to the trunk, the bronchioles to the branches, and the alveoli to the leaves of a tree. The whole respiratory system is a large and complicated one. There is more than 25 times as much skin-like tissue in your lungs as there is on the entire outer surface of your body. But anywhere along the respiratory tract, a single cancerous cell can start the growth of a malignant tumor that eventually may kill. Such a tumor can prove fatal either by making it impossible for the affected organ to function or by sending deadly cells into other vital parts of the body. Irritants seem to favor the development of cancer in the respiratory system. The warning signals vary greatly. Some cancers show up in the system as lumps, as you can see and feel. Others, deep in the body, make their presence known through symptoms that you can dismiss too lightly, a chronic cough, for example, or persistent hoarseness. Several kinds of respiratory cancer attack men more often than women. Like most cancers, however, those of the respiratory tract are likely to develop in later life. Some, particularly on the lips, commonly do not develop until old age. Cancer of the lips, tongue, mouth, and pharynx are all more common in men than in women. Likewise, men are more apt to have cancer of the larynx, bronchus, and lung than are women. Nevertheless, you must remember that cancer is no respecter of ages, persons, or parts of the body. Now let us follow the path traveled by the air you breathe and see what signs should put you on your guard for possible cancer of the respiratory tract. If you find any of these signs in yourself, have a physician examine you at the earliest possible moment. All right, we will get back to this. Let's see what we have in the way of literary material. Actually, we will get back to this Bradley Manning trial next time. That will conclude our literary and jury charge practice.